never stop reading the Bible. Welcome back. Today we're doing a deep dive into a really pivotal section of the book of Job.
That's right. Chapters 29 through 33. It's quite a ride.
It really is. We see Job looking back at his golden days, you could say.
Mm-hmm. His past prosperity.
And then immediately contrasted with his current, pretty intense suffering.
And right after that, this new character, Elihu, steps onto the scene.
Yeah, a completely new voice with a different perspective. So our goal is to kind of unpack that contrast in Job's life and get a first look at what Elihu has to say about suffering.
Okay, so starting with chapter 29, Job's memories. They're incredibly vivid, aren't they?
They really are. He's not just saying, oh, I used to be happy.
No, it's more like he felt this tangible presence of God protecting him, like a shield.
And guiding him. And it wasn't just personal fortune either, right? His community standing was huge.
Absolutely. He talks about being respected, looked up to, people listened when he spoke, young, old, everyone.
It makes you wonder, what was that blessing really about? Was it just stuff or something deeper?
That's a key question. He certainly remembers being strong, a leader whose word carried weight.
Honored, praised. He emphasizes his role in upholding justice, caring for others.
And it's striking how he paints this picture of life completely free from the kind of injustice his friends are now accusing him of.
Exactly. It's like he's laying out his case. Look at who I was. Does this sound like someone who deserves this?
It really challenges his friend's whole argument. And, it makes you think about our own expectations of fairness.
Then chapter 30 hits. And wow, the shift is jarring.
Brutal is the word. The misery he describes, it's detailed. He doesn't hold back.
The social isolation, the contempt he faces from people who once respected him, it's humiliating.
Yeah, he gives specific examples. It's not just general complaining. It feels very real, very raw.
And maybe the worst part, beyond the physical stuff, is the spiritual anguish.
Feeling abandoned by God. That seems to be the absolute core of his pain.
Despite believing he's done nothing wrong. Can you imagine that feeling? Utterly alone, forsaken by God, yet convinced of your own integrity.
It's almost unthinkable, which leads right into chapter 31.
His big declaration of innocence.
Yeah, he basically puts himself on trial before God. It's like he's in court making his final plea.
He starts by just asserting his loyalty, almost asking, how can I betray that?
And then this list, it's incredible. He goes through all these potential sins.
Right. Did I engage in falsehood, greed, adultery? Did I mistreat my servants?
Did I ignore the poor, the widows, the orphans? He even mentions being kind to strangers, enemies.
It's so comprehensive. He seems to cover every base, insisting he hasn't done these things.
He keeps hammering home his innocence, challenging anyone, even God implicitly, to produce an indictment. Show me the charge.
It really highlights that tension when your reality just doesn't match up with your understanding of how things should work, especially regarding justice.
Definitely. And just when you think the debate between Job and his three friends is winding down.
Boom. Chapter 32. Enter Elihu.
A new player? He's younger, apparently, and he's been listening the whole time.
And he is not happy.
No, the text says he's angry. Angry at Job for insisting so much on his own righteousness over God's.
But also angry at the three friends.
Yeah, because they couldn't actually answer Job effectively. They just condemned him without really refuting his points.
So Elihu feels he has to step in because the whole conversation is sort of stalled out.
Exactly. He criticizes their arguments, particularly that simple idea that all suffering is direct punishment for specific sins.
He seems to think it's more complicated than that.
Right. And this is where he starts offering a different angle. He suggests suffering might not just be punishment.
What else could it be then?
Maybe a refinement or correction, a way God gets our attention, perhaps, to prevent worse things. It's a significant shift.
So suffering could potentially have a purpose beyond just payback for wrongdoing.
That seems to be the direction Elihu is heading. Which brings us to chapter 33, his first speech directly to Job.
And his tone seems different, described as serious, thoughtful.
Yeah, he asks Job to listen carefully, to respond if he can. It feels a bit more measured than some of the earlier back and forth.
He starts by showing he's heard Job, right? Summarizing Job's main points.
He recounts Job's claims about his innocence, his suffering, and, crucially, God's silence. He's like, okay, I hear you saying this.
And then lays out his central idea for this first speech.
Which is?
That God does speak, just maybe not always in the ways we expect or want.
Ah, okay, so God isn't necessarily silent?
According to Elihu, no. God uses various means, dreams, visions, even suffering itself to communicate, to turn people from harmful paths.
So suffering itself could be a form of divine communication, a warning maybe, or guidance?
That's Elihu's opening argument. It moves the conversation beyond just Job sinned, therefore he suffers. It introduces a whole new layer of possibility.
Yeah, it definitely sets the stage for a different kind of theological exploration in the chapters that follow. It forces you, the listener, to think, could my own hardships have a meaning I haven't considered?
From the Center Studio.